Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we turn to talking about Tucker Carlson, one of the last great conservative voices on television right now, and his show has been getting really spicy in the last few weeks. In light of all this craziness going on in the country, Tucker has been speaking truths, dropping great information bombs, and also supporting the right causes and saying how conservatives need to stick together and how us, the voters, the constituents, need to start speaking up and demanding that our politicians start fighting for us more and harder. This has become more important in recent times with all these dramatic leftist protesters, people going crazy in the streets, attacking others, destroying property, going after private homes, and all this other stuff has been really coming to a fever pitch. So now is more of an important time than ever that we need someone like Tucker. Tucker has been getting lots of support now too. He actually recently just had one of the largest and most watched broadcasts in all of television. He had a world record setting broadcast this past weekend. Today we're going to talk about some clips from his show and go over why he's so gosh darn based and why he's so right about everything too. I was first brought to notice about this speech in a tweet from Ali. It says, y'all, Tucker has just took our message nationwide. This is the most significant monologue. He's our rallying cry. GOP needs to listen or lose the country. So this is what's going on here. We're in a desperate time. It's actually a very tough time out there because, yeah, in a lot of ways, we are being failed by our representatives in government. They're trying their best, but at the same time, they're also being complicit and not standing up and fighting against these liberals enough. The liberals are being strong and taking over and doing whatever they want, and they're stopping things and, calling for lockdowns, forcing masks, taking away the cops, causing riots and creating these autonomous zones. And I think it's time too for the Republicans to step up and stop that in more harsher ways. Now, I'm not calling for some kind of crazy dramatic civil war or anything like that. We're just talking about real legislation. We're talking about sending in possible law enforcement in some cases. We're talking about protecting actual conservatives, stopping us from, say, getting banned off platforms or losing our jobs and all this other crazy stuff that's happening to us. So with that said, let's jump into this monologue, this groundbreaking monologue from Tucker, and we're going to go over it and talk about it and see how awesome it is.
Republicans at all levels could lose this fall. If they do, there will be profound consequences for you. People who supported Donald Trump will be punished. There's absolutely no question about that. There's never been an American political party as radical and as angry as the Democrats are now. Imagine them with unlimited power, and that's what they plan to get. In their first year, Democrats will give voting rights to every illegal alien in this country and then encourage many others to join them from abroad. At a minimum, that means more than 20 million new Democratic voters overnight.
Okay, already pretty scary. And at the first point, I think it is very interesting. Like people that supported Trump, conservatives, open Republicans, we will be in an even worse place if we lose the election in November. If we lose in November, even just the presidency, there's other things up for election, Senate seats, Congress, all kinds of stuff are going up for election. And if we lose across the board there, starting with the presidency, we're in big trouble after November. Like middle November, we're all going to get canceled. We're going to lose our website. I don't think this show is going to go on. Stuff like that is going to happen for sure. Like we're all going to get punished. We can see how crazy things are in the streets already. Like Tucker was saying, this thing is just going to get worse. Like look at these Democrats now. We have a Republican president. We have Trump. We have a majority. We're supposed to be controlling the Supreme Court, a lot of things like that. But still, the Democrats are running amok. They're tearing down cities. They're causing riots, starting in Minneapolis. Atlanta's burning down the Wendy's. There's all kinds of things happening. St. Louis protesters are invading private property. And then we get crapped on when we try to stop that and speak up against it at all. So this is really going to get worse if we lose. So I think this is a good rallying cry and a good point for all of us to consider. Like we need this. We need to vote for Trump. We need to make sure all these other Republicans not only get elected, but they need to start listening to us more too. Like we need more help. Like I don't know how else to stress that. Like luckily Tucker, he's in a great position. he's got his wealth, he's made a lot of money, but people like us, people like me, like I've been doing pretty good for a couple years, but things have slowed down. Like they are trying to stop us all. We've already seen them banning lots of other channels. Like lots of channels have been straight up banned. If you're not banned, then you're demonetized, so you can't make money. And then even worse, they're not showing your videos to people. They're not sending them to subscribers. All this stuff has happened to me. And that's why I think we're in trouble, especially if things only get worse. Like if we lose in November, things are just going to get worse and it's going to be really scary.
No Republican will win nationally again. We will have one-party rule. But Democrats don't plan to stop there. In Congress, they will abolish the filibuster. That means they'll be able to do whatever they want to do with just a simple majority, which they will have. They plan to pack the Senate by making the District of Columbia a state. Giving statehood to D.C. is unconstitutional, clearly, but they're not worried about that. They plan to pack the Supreme Court, too.
So they're openly trying to take this thing over. They're openly saying and admitting. I mean, we're looking at them. They say they want to give illegals the right to vote. They say they want to give criminals the right to vote. They want to make DC a state, which will give them more seats in the Senate. I mean, you got to read between the lines because there's a lot of people, like the Democrats try to act like, for example, with the DC thing, they try to act like they're helping and they're doing the right thing. Like, oh, the DC needs to become a state. Like, oh, this is the right thing to do. They deserve to have a senator and all this stuff. And really, that's not the case. They're not trying to help anyone. It's just like with BLM and the protests. Like they don't care about the people. They act like they care, but they don't. This is a strategy. If they make DC a state, it'll get 2 new senators, and they know they're going to be Democratic senators. It's the same thing with the legal voting. Like they want to make these illegal immigrants, these people coming in from the southern border illegally breaking the law. They want to give them the vote, and they act like that's the right thing to do. We want to give them a voice. No, it's because you know they're going to vote for Democrats. It's so obvious. And another thing worth bringing up is, I'm not sure if Tucker's going to get to this, but Electoral College is another example of that. They always talk about banning Electoral College, and they want to take that away, and they act like, oh, it's because it's not fair. It doesn't give everyone the same kind of vote. Like it makes more votes valuable. Like they try to pretend they care about this fairness, but we know that's not true because they take down the Electoral College. It's another way for them to have a better chance of winning elections. It's just very biased, very unfair, and they're just pretending they have these noble causes, but we know they have secret, ulterior, very nefarious motives.
So what will Democrats do with all of this untrammeled power? It's pretty easy to imagine. We won't go into details right now. We don't want to wreck your night. But look around. You've got a pretty good idea of what's coming. The point is, and it could not be clearer, non-Democrats in America are in peril. We're going to need someone with power willing to come to our defense. And that's where people like Mike Braun come in. That was the point of last night's interview.
The previous night, Tucker interviewed this politician, Braun, who basically, to sum it up, I caught up on some of his episodes, and essentially Braun was this rhino candidate. He won a political position, and he claimed to be a conservative, but ever since he got into power, he's kind of kowtowed and become very liberal and gone along with this whole craziness. He's supported BLM and stuff like that. So Tucker had him on, he called him out, he put his feet to the fire, and his point is we need to step up and ask these politicians. We need to demand them to do our bidding. You know, that's what their job is. That's what they're here for. And a lot of times what he's about to say too, they're not bad people. They're not negative. They need the votes. And it's just, they're not very political. Like they don't care as much. And that's why we got to demand and force them into it. Because if they want our votes, they've got to help us. They're not helping us enough. I feel it too. Believe me, guys, like I know I seem like I'm a very stark conservative and I wouldn't cave on anything. And I might seem like, oh, I'm just blinded and always Trumper person, but really that's not the case. I still support Trump and conservatives and I believe in that stuff, but I could see where there's places where we can improve. I could see where we need help, and I could see where we might be in trouble, especially if we lose in November.
Not to humiliate a specific senator, but to remind the Republican Party that it is our only shield. Yes, the Republican Party, flawed and infuriating though it often is, the fact remains the GOP is the only institution still open to the rest of us, to Americans who want to live as they did just 15 years ago, quietly, productively, without being harassed and harangued by self-righteous lunatics who mean them harm, and they do.
Of course they do. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen these protesters. We've seen them go out in the streets, destroy stuff, attack people, go after whites. Like they very specifically say they hate white people. That's why they pin us with things like white guilt. Well, white guilt is a bad thing that a lot of liberals put on themselves, but they pin on us terrible labels like white supremacists. They say we have white privilege. They attack us for our skin color. They try to demean us and say we don't deserve the positions that we have, say in government or positions in work, in power, in Hollywood, stuff like that. They try to demean us, and it's only going to get worse. And as Tucker just stated very, very well, we're the only party that's open to everyone. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound like that's true. The liberals try to act like they're all inclusive and about equality, but they don't let in the regular white people. Like, unless you just go along with everything and just totally kind of cave in and act like you're just this weak, terrible person, you can't be a positive white person in the liberal party. Like, you can't be a positive, like, free speech person or Second Amendment. Like, the conservative party is the actual open one that will allow anyone in. We support the country, we support freedom, and we need to get back to, yeah, like he said, 15 years ago, 2005 sounds pretty good about now. I honestly, like, it doesn't seem like that long ago, but things were way different pre-2010. Like, things have gone really bad, especially since 2014, 2015. The election was 2016. And yeah, we've seen the SJW stuff rise up. We've seen the liberals get more radical and out of control, and they're taken over by socialists like AOC and terrible career politicians like Pelosi and Schumer and Nadler. And all these terrible people are just totally ruining the sides.
If you want to be left alone to do your job and raise your family in this country, you will need a protector. That protector must be the Republican Party. There are no other options, but it must be a very different kind of Republican Party. Keep in mind, we're getting a new Republican Party no matter what happens. Even now, vultures wait just off stage to swoop in and claim the GOP for themselves once Donald Trump is gone. Former Governor Nikki Haley tops that list, but there are many others on it.
Okay, now we're talking about Republicans and how they can help. He's got a picture of Trump. Even if Trump loses, the Republicans are going to have to change. So this is kind of, it's sounding like anti-establishment, but as Tucker is pointing out, I mean, there's no fighting this. Like, the Republicans have to change, especially if they want to win, if they want to be successful, if they want to be a legitimate party and still have this two-party system. There's going to have to be some adaptation, some kind of evolution, And I think a lot of it's saying it's already changed anyway. And I think Tucker gets to this later, how Trump changed everything when he was elected. I mean, he came out of nowhere. He wasn't even part of the party, and he took it over in 2015, 2016. And now we're in this world post-Trump where we still have a lot of his detractors trying to go back to the old ways. And then we have other ones trying to take it to a new way. And the point is, we all need to come together and realize that the real enemy of the people and the real kind of bad thing for this country is a lot of these far leftists. Now, in another age, another era, we might say we could work with liberals. I think not all liberals are bad. I've known some good ones. I've seen some good ones out there. They're rare and few and far between these days. But the point is, they're just too radical. They don't have any interest in collaborating or saving this country together. So we've got to band together on our side and stop infighting and bring everyone together and make sure that Trump wins. Like I said, it's going to be really bad for us, as Tucker went over too in this great monologue, which I think you guys should check out in full. He's got a great show that I have been reminded. Now I need to watch this show more and keep up, because like we said in the beginning, he had one of the highest rating weeks of all time. He's obviously reaching out to a lot of people in this time of need, and we all need to stick together and follow this kind of process and make sure that we win in November. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts and everything below. Also hit that like button to get things shared, and until next time, have a great day.